Well, good evening, Facebook Live. How are you tonight? Good evening, and welcome to Unmasking Love. I'm your host, Dr. M. Listen, you want to tune in tonight? Uh, Share with someone and invite someone to join in tonight. We're talking about a very relevant and interesting topic tonight. You see it going across the screen there. We're going to be talking about body shaming. Yeah. And in sharing with body shaming tonight, ultimately, we want you to know that it's really about health, love, self acceptance, and wholeness. All right. I have some guests that's going to be joining me in a little bit. And so, as they prepare to join in, message somebody, call somebody, let them know that we're on tonight. We're not going to be talking about anybody. We're just going to be talking about what we're talking about. Cut out the body shaming. Listen, we're going to be working on talking about getting healthier, learning to love ourselves, accept ourselves, and live and operate in wholeness. So, again, I'm Dr. M, your host of Unmasking Love, and it's all about love. Listen, learning to love yourself and accept yourself and being comfortable in the skin that you're in and getting as healthy as possible as you can in the skin and in the body size that you are. Okay. So, again, tonight we're diving into a topic that's it's close to my heart as well, getting healthy and being comfortable, as I said, in the skin that you're in. Because as you may or may not know, too often we live under the weight of body shaming, okay? And sometimes from others, sometimes from ourselves, okay? But hear me tonight, hear us tonight, okay? Uh, your your worth is not measured by a number on the scale, your dress or your pant size, or someone else's opinion. How about that? How about that? So, as you prepare to get ready tonight, just tell somebody we're on and we're talking about body imaging. So, I have two guests tonight. I'm going to bring them in and let's get ready to have this conversation. Welcome, welcome. We are actually live here on Facebook and YouTube, and I want to say welcome to Mr. Eddie Sharp tonight and Apostle Lynn Horton. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yes, just gave him a brief intro tonight. We're talking about body shaming, but we want them to realize that ultimately we're really talking about learning to get healthier and accept yourself, you know, work on wholeness and learning how to love the skin that you're in. Ultimately, that's what we want to talk about. So we know that too often we live under the weight of body shaming, sometimes from others, and then sometimes from ourselves. Um, but tonight, as I said, we want to talk about how ultimately our worth as individuals, as human beings, is not measured, okay, by a number on a scale or our dress size or our pants size, okay, or someone else's opinion. So I'm so glad to have both of you all tonight. We're not going to prolong the time. We know it's an hour ahead on a few other coasts, and here in the South, we're on Central Time. So we're just going to get started tonight. What you think about this topic tonight? Eddie, let's talk about body shaming. What do you think about this topic? Do you think it's a relevant topic for this present age, or am I just throwing something out there?
No, it's a relevant topic. Probably more so relevant for this age than it ever has been because our access to beauty and European beauty standards and Instagram models and filters and being able to manipulate yourself on Photoshop and things is far more relevant now than it ever has been.
Wow. What you think, Apostle Lynn? What you say?
I absolutely agree with him. Absolutely. I was watching. Someone had come on one of my pages, and they were making all these comments, and I had no idea who it was. And so, of course, I looked at the profile. I'm like, this is not familiar, and it was totally. It was AI. It was everything was excuse me, something other than what I knew them as. But I also, I think the whole stigmatism of it, of not measuring up as what people have kind of made themselves believe is what it's supposed to look like, is is a subject that's very, very worth the conversation. It's worth the time put into it, because we've got, you know young people coming behind us, and unfortunately they don't have the what we had, and so they're in this, right in the middle of this body shaming, and they need direction, because this is bigger than what I ever thought that it would be.
Wow. Well, I tell you, I'm sure, like I said, on the heels of what you just said, Eddie, you've enlightened me as when we were doing the prelude on some things, and I can be transparent and I can be honest. I think sometimes I've lived maybe in a bubble and I haven't I guess been as privy to some of the information or have not paid attention to a lot of, the information out there around body shaming and, all those things. And even with the newness of AI and I'm going to say stardom and all of that, where people are doing augmentations, not only for their personal gain, let me say that, or their personal likeness, they're doing it for monetary reasons and whatever as well. And I was just oblivious to all of that. So that's not my lane. So I'm thankful when you all can shed some light on that. So just give us a little caption, Eddie. Take us back a while. You say this is something that started way back, a while back. How far back?
So the
You say
conversation that we were talking about was referring to. Can y'all hear me?
yes,
I stopped moving for some reason. I don't know what my camera doing. Okay, there I go.
yeah,
There's so me and you was having a conversation about like BBLs when we talk
yes.
about body augmentations and things like that. I mean, it's not as if body augmentations are new. I mean, there's been breast boob jobs and facial surgery and all of these other like liposuction things, the small aesthetic features. But I think the BBL gets so much attention because a lot of the time the way that it's proportioned ends up looking a lot different than what people you know see as socially acceptable. And this started long ago, if back when I was a youngster, and was being introduced to some like triple X type content. There
Okay,
used to be specific women in those that would have this natural big voluptuous body,
okay,
and men gravitated to those women like heavily. All of my friends gravitated to those women
okay,
very, very quickly, right? It's like I could name a couple of them, and the dude, any man that's listening to this is gonna know who I'm talking about, right? Because that's just what that was. And I think that so that turned into those men gravitating to those women in the strip clubs, and the women who don't have that were looking at them saying, well, what do they have that I don't? And that turned into, well, is there a way for me to get that? And once the way to get that became available, women started to flock to getting that, and it turned into a return on the investment because now they're getting the attention that the other people was had. So it became a social movement that was based on the male gaze, because men, I don't think men asked for it, but when men are giving one side of the world attention, I think naturally we try to get that. Like if somebody is fashionable over here and we don't have the fashion, we might try to dress like that person. It's not like just an isolated phenomenon to body augmentation. It
okay,
goes into a lot of other social phenomenon. So this just happened to be one that shifted women to the direction of gaining the male gaze through augmenting their bodies, particularly their butts, to become bigger, to emulate what those women had. And again, it's translated to money. It's translated to IG careers. It's translated to being arm candy on the arms of athletes. It's translated to these things. And
Got
so
it.
it wasn't just women just woke up one morning and said, I want to cut into my body, put something foreign in it, and then leave with it. It came from a social experience that was happening, that there was some perceived gain, whether it was attention, whether it was relationships, or whether it was money.
Okay, come on, Facebook Live. Listen, this is a hot topic tonight. I know you all want to have some input and have something to say about this, or you have some questions. So we're open to your questions tonight and your comments. Thank you so much for all of that, Eddie. So what says you, Apostle Lynn?
Yeah, I totally agree with him. I agree, and I will just add one dynamic um, about the money, but it also became an issue of self um, esteem. I don't fit. I'm not enough. I don't look like that. So I don't look like that means I'm willing to do whatever's necessary. And so it became an unnatural affection in trying to fulfill that particular look. Yeah, I want to look good on his arm. I want to look good in my clothes. But then unfortunately, for those people who were able to do it from a financial perspective, those people were probably safer. But then there were those who did not have the money, or they did not know how to gain, as some people may have had the ability to do, and so they started getting um, artificial injections and artificial, and so the BBLs didn't look natural. Some I've seen some and they look beautiful, and I've seen some that you look at and say, and so therein lies more problem, and self-respect, or self-esteem. I'll say self-esteem more so than respect. But you see someone, they've got the big butt and the tiny legs, and nothing kind of goes together, and then that created another problem. And so then they started this is just information that I'd studied and I've observed. They start taking more injections because I need more, and became more mental. And from what I seen and experienced, and but I have seen quite a few people do many different kinds of augmentation, and everybody wants to be accepted, everybody wants to be loved, everybody wants to have the attention. The problem is that some people became ill because of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I'll digress and go back a minute because what I wanted to start with, just a brief definition, what body shaming is or what body shaming looks like, it's the negative comments from others, social media, comparison, sometimes even self-criticism,
Oh yeah.
like both of you have so eloquently said, comparing yourself to someone else and wondering why I don't look like this, or what can I do to look like that,
Hmm.
and just criticizing, what someone else may have chosen to do with their body, you see. So all of that has, something to do with it, but it's negativity, the body shaming,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I'm just going to say it like this, you know, I know it's old school and everything, but we were all created to look different and to be different. I know people don't want to hear that, that they don't get paid with
Yeah.
that, and they don't get them to roll in the movie or whatever, you see. But I mean, just a variety of, skin tones, a variety of sizes. Uh, that's why they make bras and A's all the way up through G's and H's. You understand?
And double H, yeah.
And different things. So I'm just saying variety is a spice of life. And I understand though how some people want what they want, and I know you both know it's not just exclusive to women, because you got some guys, I mean, they just all swole up. They look like, yeah, yeah. And so, that's, I don't know. That's attractive to them, I know, but I'm just wondering for real, how many women are drawn to that, and that's just a question that I throw out there. So I do want us to kind of address a little bit of that too, because we're not just talking exclusively about women, you know. So what do y'all think about that? I mean, what do you think about there's some people who are attracted to, with all due respect, olive oil. You see what I'm saying? That used to be on Popeye. You see what I'm saying? And then there's some people who are attracted to somebody that's, on my 600-pound life. You see, and all of the in between. But I think I understand what we're saying about the AI and the opportunity to get paid, those kind of things, you see. And I'm gonna stop talking in a minute, but I'm just wondering, I wish I had thought about bringing someone on, who've had the experience of, really doing some augmentations and all of that a while back, because I'd like to know what's the life expectancy of some of these augments. You know what I'm saying? Do you have to have them redone every 5 years? Is that something you have to do? Or, what do they look like over a 20-year period? So I'm just rambling. I'm just grasping for stuff to talk about, because I know we go through changes if we haven't had any augments. Okay. And I believe definitely if we've got some fillers or injections or surgeries, some of that is going to change as well. So I don't know. All of I said, come on, Eddie, talk about
Well,
some of that stuff that I said.
so a big part of it is like we have our own different attractions.
Yeah,
But one thing that you mentioned was like that bodybuilder physique.
yeah.
Poll after poll shows that women do not want nobody that's all chiseled up and rocked up and hugging somebody that feel like a stone. Women don't be wanting that.
No,
But
we don't.
men believe that women want that because men want that. Like a lot of our performance as men is for the male gaze. And so we're doing that because we want men to see us being masculine.
Oh,
We
really?
don't really care in certain ways that women see us as masculine. So when we chisel our bodies up, a lot of the times we believe that it's to get women, but women don't want that. And I think that goes into like how women haven't been really listened to in terms of what they want. Like men across time have chosen what women's supposed to like, and men have generally committed to doing the things that they think women like instead of asking women, what do you actually like? And that's one of those things. You chisel your body up for that. And there's other things too. Like right now, everybody is getting their teeth ground all down so that they can get these veneers in their mouth, right? Instead of doing the dental work and the dental hygiene that it takes to actually like get your teeth together. People are shaving all their teeth down and just getting them veneers put in. So if you see somebody smile that look like a toilet stool, they just shaved all their teeth down, and they went to, like, I got like these spaces in between my teeth. My family like got this natural, like them top 3 teeth. They just start doing their own thing at some point. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but nothing in my head is said I want to shave all my teeth down and get this. But I think the general conversation is like it goes into how much do I value myself?
That's
How did I come to value myself? And how did I come to accept the idea that I may lose some things and some things might not be the way that I want them to be? And I don't know. I feel like this. If all of us had a magic wand and we can wave it and change something and there was no consequence to it, I feel like we'll all change something.
Yeah.
I probably straighten my teeth up. I'll probably put me a hairline up there so I give me some locks. I feel like I do that. And I feel like we will all do that. But I think some people look for that magic wand in doctors and injections and being cut and shaving your teeth down and all of these unnatural ways to do things that come along with a society that has progressed and capitalism that will pay people based on your insecurities.
Yeah.
There are
wow.
people out here capitalizing on you having self-esteem issues and saying, I can cut into you and make you the beautiful that you want to be. And again, what I think, and I'm just going on, I'm filibustering y'all a little bit.
Come on.
It
That's
goes
good.
into it goes into when we see people who once you get that first cut on your face, it keep going. We could talk about Lil Kim, we could talk about SZA, we could keep talking about person after person. So I think what it exposes is how much dormant body dysmorphia lies underneath our society that you can do something about when you have money. And we start seeing these celebrities doing these things, but never really reaching the desired aesthetic that they have been seeking. And so they end up seeking it for a long time. And I think the thing that keeps a lot of us from capitalizing on that is not having the capital to do it.
Hmm.
I wanna agree with you on something, Eddie. I think that one of the things I think we don't really talk about, those people who can't afford it, and those people who don't know what to do and how they work so hard, and then it cuts into the inner critic. It cuts into that person inside that says, I won't measure up, I'm never going to be able to have it like that. And so those people sometimes can either be mean to others or mean to themselves, and because they don't quite fit in to what a societal norm is. If I could be a little bit transparent, um, when I was a child, I broke my front teeth. It was an accident. Somebody hit me and pushed me into something and broke my front teeth. And I've had them repaired 5 times. On
Wow.
top of that, I've had braces for 7 years. Well, 5 years at first because it got caught up in COVID and I ended up stuck with metal braces, and then they were misaligned. I ended up with Invisalign. Now we're waiting for the next retainer. What is my point? Because of what happened at 9, I've done everything I could to never ever feel that my teeth were unattractive. And so I don't have them on right now, but I still wear Invisalign, and I make sure that I'm constantly wanting to make sure that I never endure the mockery or the criticism that I once endured as a result to having broken teeth. And so I could go further with my with my own personal experiences, Dr. Watson, but please know that people, when I believe when people start doing the most, it's because there is the most that is happening on the inside, and that the most on the inside can't see clear. Because now that if I go back into my memory bank, my teeth were probably fine. They probably were fine. But there were some couple of things that I wanted to realign. There were some things I wanted to shift, but I was influenced by the thought of the pain that went into the jokes, the mocking, the mockery. And I looked at myself, and I was stigmatized. I looked at myself and I felt like I wasn't pretty enough. And it wasn't there was nothing else wrong, but it was something on the inside. And so I think that something probably would be helpful to be taught on um the abnorms that come from the outside, that kind of sit around on the inside, and cause people to feel um that they're disjointed and disconnected from what would be absolutely normal. I never I've been on this panel with Dr. M and Eddie probably 3, maybe 4 times now. Never saw a gap in your teeth. Never saw a gap. Never thought about it. Never thought about it. But it's important to you. I mean, because you said, if we had it, maybe I would have got them fixed. You probably can't see that this there's a little bit of chip right there that I've got to have it. You probably never saw it. But I think that the problem, Dr. M, is that not as much of the society as much as we have the challenge on the inside, and we make it about the outside.
Okay, what you think, Eddie? I
Well,
mean,
well, even that observation is, I press my tongue against my top of my mouth to my teeth because it's harder to see gaps because there's no black behind it, right? If my tongue is up against it, there's a little pink behind it, so it's harder to see that it's just a full-blown gap versus if it's not like that, right? So it's like, these are the internal ways that we come to think about it, the same way you were thinking about your chip tooth is fine, and the way that, like, I'm talking about my teeth. And at the end of the day, ain't nobody judging us on that metric
Yeah.
except people who are a level of vain that we probably don't desire to have in our orbit
Don't
anyway.
There you go, right there.
don't need them.
That's
Yeah.
it right there.
You know, but society is what creates that standard. And not only that, but we talking about European beauty standards.
Absolutely.
We talk about people with bodies and faces that don't even align with how our community look.
That's
You
right.
know, for them to perform minstrel shows and making their lips real big because that's how they see us, and making their black hyper
Jet
pigmented
black. Yeah.
black, you
Yeah.
know, to portray us in a way that made us start looking at ourselves in the way that they looked at us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of having to break out of that. And then we can even go to the civil rights movement. We can go to how our hair defies gravity and theirs go along with it. And so we became criticized for having afros.
Yeah.
You couldn't have an afro and get a job because they equated you with a radical at the time.
Yeah.
And so people be like, well, why did black people start getting perms? And they criticize that. Well, it was how you were forced to assimilate and fit into white society up against police trying to find out who might have been radical. And if your hair was up, you going to jail. If your hair is down, you probably got a job somewhere.
Right.
You know? And so it's not just anybody woke up and said, I want to be this way. It's society has said we gonna be this way. And if you are outside of that, you're gonna be a problem. So if your weight is too high, you're gonna be a problem. For men, if you too short, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
If you lose that hairline, you're gonna have some internal issues with that going on.
Yeah.
And we can just keep naming them and naming them and naming them, you know, but all of that, whatever it is, the solution is rooted into how much you come to value yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, can you accept what it is versus bargain with yourself to make yourself what society is saying that you would make you more desirable?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's it. You touched on the next thing that I want to talk about, you know, the power of self-acceptance. I think both of you touched on that. You see what I'm saying? That's it. Self-acceptance, because all of us got something, I believe, that we're vain about. Well, let me not speak to everybody, but there's some things that I'm vain about. You see what I'm saying? And my teeth is one of them. You see, and I can be transparent. I got a story. You know, when I grew up, you see, people always talked about I had a pretty smile, but I had bad teeth in the front. You see. And my mama that raised me, she didn't have the money. She couldn't take me to the dentist or whatever. So I was hesitant about my smile. You see what I'm saying? Even though people talked about a beautiful smile, you know. And when I got my first job at 16, the first thing I did when I started getting paid was save my money so I could go to the dentist. And I got my teeth fixed. Okay. And I vowed that I would never have a raggedy mouth. You see what I'm saying? Or bad teeth. And I vowed that I wouldn't do that to all of my children would have pretty teeth. You see? So I made sure they went to the doctor, and they'll tell you right now, make sure they all went to the dentist, you know? And so that's a vain thing for me. I keep a toothbrush in my purse. You know, if I'm out eating or leave or whatever, I just don't want green stuff or brown stuff or whatever in my teeth, you know. So I can be transparent. It don't bother some people, but yeah, that's a vain spot for me. And I went as far as, and I can tell you, I text all of my children probably 3 or 4 months ago, you know, and I told them, I said, you know, as I age, if I ever get to the point where I can't go to the dentist and do what I need to do, don't you all ever let me sit around and my mouth look bad.
Yeah.
I did that. You see, because that's important to me, you know, and that's not passing judgment on anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So I think we all have something, you know, and not to the point of body augmentation or whatever, but, you know, up and down, up and down. You know, I like Oprah. I've battled with my weight my whole life. I think there's some clothes sizes that I skipped. I don't think I was ever a 6 or 7 or 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So things like that. But the power of self-acceptance, you see, I've accepted the fact that I'm not ever going to be a Haley Berry. I love her, but I'm just not going to, look like her or whatever, And I think there's some discussions that need to be had on being comfortable in your skin at every stage of our journey, because we all go through changes and metamorphoses.
Yes.
We gain weight, we lose weight, we gain hair, we lose hair. You know what I'm saying? Some of us will get gray, and a lot of people don't like that. They will color it and change it. Well, I'm done with all of that. I'm like, okay, God, whatever, however you want it to flow now, that's the way it's gonna be, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but learning how to be comfortable, you see, at every stage. By all means, if you've got the money or the insurance and the funds and you want to have something done, I'm not saying don't have it done, but think about, are you having it done? This is my thing, because that's what you really want to do, and you're okay with it. Or you having it done because you believe that's what someone else wants you to do.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
you know uh Now, it's a whole nother subject, and I don't know if it's classed as body augmentations or not, but I know there's some people who are addicted to tattoos. They don't have another spot to put a tattoo, you know so would that be a whole different subject, Eddie, or you think that's body augmentation as well?
I think that's a different story.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think I would call that body augmentation,
Okay.
as it's far less invasive and has less implications on harm. Because y'all know Kanye West mama died going under the knife.
She
Right.
did. I remember
That's what
that.
happened to her, right? So I
Right.
mean, to do a procedure that you might die from, like if you die from getting a tattoo, it's because you went to an irresponsible shop owner who wasn't cleaning their tools and you done got
Okay.
infected. And that don't turn out in death. It just turn out into an ugly looking tattoo.
So
You know?
usually, if we're talking body augmentation, we're usually talking under the knife or
Surgery.
either
Yeah.
some type of injection.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
gotcha.
thinking something that interrupts your like internal natural body into internally, I think, to some degree.
Okay,
And
got it.
the epidermis, I don't know if I'll put that at body augmentation.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarity. I just wanted to put it, when in doubt, we ask, because I don't know. I just
Mhm.
thought I'd throw
Now,
it.
that's not to say that there's not some personality, character, life experience that goes into a person that get a tattoo versus a person that cover their whole body in tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I mean, there has to be something underneath that, right? Imagine somebody, because being a child and not being seen can manifest
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
How
Yes.
do how do
Yes.
you translate not being seen into being seen? For some people, it's gonna be some people morph their body into looking like a cat. You know how they get their teeth sharpened and their ears end up looking like a cat. They do that, and that's a version of it. I think maybe a person getting full body tattoos is a version of it, but also some people are just artistic people
Yeah.
where they were seen when they was a kid, but they see their body as a canvas the way they see the whole world, and
Yeah.
they just paint their body. I think there's a range. I think that if a client is sitting down in front of me with a full body of tattoos, I think after 3 sessions, I'll know why they got them tattoos.
Yeah.
But short of us knowing what that is, it could tell any story.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. There was a note I attached to the power of acceptance. Um, Also being comfortable in your skin at every stage of the journey, but also affirming that confidence is magnetic. Isn't
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
something? When we're
Absolutely.
confident, you see what I'm saying? It's magnetic. It draws people to you. I think the same way when you're not confident, I'm not so sure that other people stay away from you, but I think you stay away from people. What y'all think about that? You stay away from others when you're not comfortable in your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think people do want to stay away from others when they're not comfortable in their skin, that they lack confidence. But when we're dealing with people who are mocking or stigmatizing, I think they seek after those kind of people, and they they look for someone to make them feel better in their critical comments. And I think that that's a, you know, it's an irresponsible thing, but I do think that it happens. I've experienced people who let me find someone who looks worse than me, someone who sees themselves worse than me, or who looks worse than me, or who, you know, whatever. And I think that it unfortunately becomes um, an internal argument with what is right and what is not right. I think that has some to do with it, and especially if, you know, there were some girls I remember went to school with, and these were some of the nicest. They were friends of mine, and there were people at the school that called them ugly sister number one, two, and three, and the more it hurt them, the more fuel they had to say it. And I think that that speaks volumes to the, you know, the minimizing of a person, when it's easy to minimize someone else is something very minimal inside of them, and so it becomes a critical problem inside of them, where they find joy or pleasure in harming others.
So would you say, before you say what you're getting ready to say, Eddie, would you say body shaming is a form of bullying?
Yeah, I do. Are you asking me?
Both of you. I
Yeah,
mean, would you
I do.
say, I'm thinking of it now that we're having this conversation more, along the lines of that as well. It's a form of bullying, I would
Yeah,
think.
I
It's
do.
a tool in the toolbox of bullying, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
and then how back in the day when people say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And so looking at someone just because you don't like his or her aesthetics, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that someone else won't come along and like, whoa, that listen, that cranked that truck. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't looking for, a G or a F or a G size breast. Everybody ain't looking for a BBL. You understand? And everybody's not looking for uh, a 5'10" to a 6'2", a 6'5" guy. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, we can really get out in some mucky waters when we become judgmental and critical of other people. There are quite a few things, as we know, that are health challenges, that have, caused certain things to be happening with certain people. You see, at certain periods of times in their lives or what have you. And there are other birth defects, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to say, just learning how to be respectful of other people. I think once we can get to that place and understand that you do what you do because you want to do that, and not stand in judgment of what other people choose to do, with their bodies or not to do with their bodies. So, what were you getting ready to say, Eddie?
I was gonna say to the first, what you first asked, that Doctor or Apostle Lynn responded to was, uh, I talked to men about how confidence is the currency in dating for men.
Say that
Like
one more time. Wait. You it went over me right there. It grazed me right there. Say that one more time.
confidence is the currency in dating for men.
Okay. Okay.
Like women are in our society, if you go traditionally how we engage, women are expected to be pursued, and the pursuer is expected to be about himself. He's expected to carry himself in a certain way. He's expected for his head to be a certain level of high. He's expected to dress a certain type of way, and that person will get the attention from a woman quicker than somebody else. Ain't no woman finna give Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh the attention faster than she finna give James Bond that attention. You know what I'm saying? She got to fight through a whole bunch of barriers to find somebody who is low energy, who don't seem like they value themselves, who don't seem like they believe what they're saying. She got to fight through a lot of that stuff in order to still engage with you, because that is data to that woman. Like, and these days we can call it what it is. A lot of times it's depression. A lot of the time it's low self-esteem, and a lot of
Yeah.
times it's self-worth issues.
Yeah.
And I tell me, and I was like, listen, I really don't care if you're 5'7". If you walk like you're 6'2", then women will treat you like you're 6'2". But you walk like you 5'7", brother.
Yeah, you 5'2".
You walk like you don't like being your height, and she
Yeah.
senses that, you
Yeah.
know. And so and it goes back to what Ms. Watson was saying, where it's like, hey, every woman don't want a man that's
Yeah.
6 foot and up. Some women are more intentional about finding somebody who has internal qualities, and she don't really care what package that is found in.
There you go.
But whatever package you have, if you are confident about who you see yourself in the mirror being, which sometimes you got to find. I'm not saying to delude yourself into believing that you're something that you're not. I'm saying to learn to believe it.
Yes.
And once you believe it, then what you believe about yourself is true.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's it right there. As my auntie would say, that's it right there.
Yeah, that right there.
Because you don't have to be perfect. You see what I'm saying? To be valuable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're already worthy, where you are. You just got to believe it and be
Yeah.
able to exude that. And when
Yeah.
you can, yeah, it's an awesome thing. So,
And I say that to men, and they be like, "Well, that's easy for you to say. You 6 foot. Well, I'm also 320 pounds. You know, like there's unfavorable parts about me. I also got these gaps in between my teeth. I also ain't got no hairline. Like a woman who wanted her man to have locks. I've had some women say to me like, "I don't normally like hairy men, but you not hairy man, you Eddie." You know what I'm saying? And it's like I earned that the ability for them to overlook things they might not naturally gravitate to because they found value in me in other ways, right?
yes.
And
Yeah.
a part of that response is, I don't really want you to accept something you don't desire to accept. But another one is I know so much of what I offer outside of any aesthetic
That's it.
that when you see who I am, I get it. I know why,
But
but
see, you just said something right there. You said something right there. Being able to, yes, we're all visual creatures. You see what I'm saying? Men and women, but looking beyond the aesthetics. You see?
mm-hmm.
Yes, we're attracted to what we're attracted to. You see what I'm saying? But taking the time to communicate, to get to know, the full person, you see, because none of us are our makeup or our body image. You see what I'm saying? If that's all that you have, if that's all you bring, then what?
Yeah.
You see, then what? So that's the thing of trying to foster, I'm going to say, a friendship with hopes of it, building into a relationship, you see, and seeing where that will go. But that won't happen if you don't look at anything other than, well, if you don't use anything other than these two little holes in your head right here. You see what
Holes.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that's your guide,
Yeah.
if that's the thing that's going to solidify the person that you're supposed to be with, you see, and if you're so vain, with all due respect, that you can't get past, you know, the veneer to see anything else, then I shudder to think what that's going to be like, after the fourth or the fifth year, after the baby come, okay, after he goes to the doctor and the doctor say, you know what, you're borderline diabetic and you got to take you some medicine. You see what I'm saying? Well, what's going to happen? Because as we go and as we grow, our bodies are going to change. It doesn't, yeah, you can live in the gym, you see, but there's still going to be some changes. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As the old folk would say, your teeth going to get loose, Eddie. You got to get them fixed, or you got to do some additives or do something. Your hair is going to change colors, or it's going to all start to come out, or it's going to recede,
Yeah.
So we're going to go through changes. And I think that's one of the things as a relationship therapist that a lot of people don't um, try to think beyond, who just fixate on the visual. And I've known people who after their wife had the baby and after she gained, 15 or 20 pounds or whatever, he's ready to go. He ready to
Yeah.
go. That vein. You see what I'm saying?
Well, this definitely zooms in on male roles and responsibilities as it pertains to the aesthetic, because we are trained to look for arm candy, right? We are not trained to look for women to add anything else to us. We have been conditioned to believe that we are the ones that bring women all the things, because the metric is physical things. The metric is money. The metric is paying the bills. The metric is house. And it's like, as long as we can do these things, the only thing we need is for her to look good, for her to have childbearing hips, and for her to not be talked about in front of my family.
But what has
And
happened now, though, in the last 30 years, that has shifted.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
saying that traditional trainer, like,
gotcha.
I am of the age where I left my childhood believing the stuff I'm telling you.
Gotcha. There you go.
And now the younger generation, they aren't leaving with those messages to those degrees,
No.
Yeah.
but it's still matriculating amongst our society. But I
Gotcha.
left believing that it was my responsibility to have all of these pressures on me. And the only thing that those traditional men are looking for in a woman is if she can perform duties, if she can have sex with me, if she can clean, if she can take care of the kids, if she can cook some food. That's all I'm looking for. They never zoom in to look at the qualities that that woman bringing into your house. And so now you got a whole bunch of men that got baby mamas, and it's like they mad at their baby mamas because they crazy. And it was like, she was crazy when you met her, if she crazy now.
Yeah.
And so what kept you from being able to determine that earlier on? Or she not crazy, and this is just your narrative because you don't like how she responded to your negative behaviors.
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
one of the two. It can't be both of them.
Yeah. Because you didn't tap in to really get to know her. You were just looking at the aesthetics. You
The
see?
aesthetics. I mean, 95% of women can cook, can clean, can do all of those duties. But when you zoom in and start to get to know her, a lot of them just not gonna mesh with you. That don't mean that they bad person. That don't mean that they crazy. That don't mean none of that stuff. It just might mean she a morning person and you a night person.
Yeah.
And so you gonna be irritating her at in the when you staying up too late, and she gonna be irritating you when you wake up too early. And that's going, so it don't have to mean that y'all are bad people, but when you
Right.
don't zoom in and find out those little compatibilities that
Yes.
might help or hurt the relationship, even those kind of things will leave you with a partnership that's going to decline based on your lack of collecting data in the beginning like you should have.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Tap in, Apostle Lynn. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Thank you, Eddie, for that. Yes.
It's absolutely right. I'm kind of wondering then, and I'm gonna ask you, Eddie, your opinion on this. What then is the woman to do when she has been accomplished? She has what she needs. She has the house, she has the car, she has the job, she has the career, she has the bank account, and he and there must be some sort of radar that goes off in the kind of man that is attracted to her because of what she has, not because of how she looks. Because there are some, and I've seen this more lately than not, especially around my age. I'm 59. And what I'm finding are the men that are interested in, I would drop everything just to come and live with you. I'll drop everything just to come and um, be your wife. And what then does that woman do when when her body is really it's starting to shift, it's changing. This is not as important to her as it once was. Still important, but not as important. We don't have the self-esteem issues. We're not concerned about whether or not people are going to think that we smile pretty. Not like before. But what happens when the gentleman goes beyond what you look like and goes to the space of what you can be for them? Was that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So the way that I'm gonna address this is just kind of like this social phenomenon going on if you spend a little time on TikTok. a lot of women are choosing lifelong relationship with themselves. Now, I'm not saying that that's for everybody. I'm just starting at this point. A lot of women have been conditioned to believe that their value is in what they do for partnership. And a lot of women are seeking partnership kind of like uh, on autopilot because society has said that's what you do. A lot of women have learned to find community with self, community with friends. A lot of them have started getting houses together to be able to have support and things. And so the first thing is assess if you need people or if you need man. All right. Now, once you deduce that, no, I would like male partnership, then the journey to me becomes one, having the boundaries to send them in on wherever they came from, right? Like, sir, I'm not looking to take care of nobody. If you ain't got something or willing to have nothing independent of me and be in my vicinity because I like you, then we ain't gonna work. Because there is an archetype of man that's okay with you having your thing while not expecting you to use your thing for him while also not having as much as you. There's a man that's okay with that. There's also a man that wants to be taken care of. Send him wherever he came back from. But in another genre of men, I think that you have to seek men that have disconnected from all of those traditional masculine ways of seeking women based on the duties that they perform. That's the first level. If you come in here with old school, my daddy was like this, head of the household, no woman finna tell me nothing, how much money you make, why you trying to get another degree? All of that, red flag. Send him back to where he came from.
Yeah.
A man who is open to an equitable partnership, man who is open to equitable decision making, a man who champions your new endeavors and your accolades instead of sees jealous of them. That's the man that you're looking for. And the problem is a lot of the times you just waste a lot of energy with a man who pretend like he's not the other man.
Bingo.
And then you done spent
Bingo.
6 months to find out that somebody been jealous of you the whole time.
Bingo.
And now you could have spent 6 months vetting other guys. And so I be encouraging women, especially the women that I work with, why you ain't asked this man this question? And a new question that women be asking men that actually worked for one of my clients recently is they ask them, are you single? You know, and they'll say, no, I'm not single. And then the follow-up to that is, well, is there anybody in your life that thinks they are in a relationship with you? That's a different question.
I've heard that.
Okay.
And that's where it's like, okay, well, yeah, I do talk to some other people that might think that this is more, you know, and somebody that I was talking to was like, hey, I asked him that question and he told me the truth. He followed up with, yeah, there might be some people who think that we got something going on, and she wouldn't have got that otherwise. And so like, I think women have to find a boldness to ask men questions that otherwise would probably offend men.
Yes.
And women can't be afraid of offending men to find out that they are not going to be compatible. And that's confronting them without being like, you still want to avoid a man that will become aggressive. So there is a way to do that and have that conversation. But to me, that's the journey of having the boundaries to remove the men on these two ends of the bell curve and find these men that's looking for equitable and who champions you and who uplifts you from the things that you've achieved instead of questioning them and why you were even on the path of achievement, because his belief is that you just supposed to want kids and to be a mama and to be nothing else.
Yes.
Already got kids. No,
that was good. Yeah. Thank you so much. That
clear.
Yeah. Did that answer what you were asking, Apostle Lynn?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's probably not been said as clear.
Yeah.
For me, because and I'm not alone. I know many women, because we women that are alike are often together, and so we have the same conversation, we have the same complaint, we have the same desire, and we don't want our time wasted, and we can just be with our girlfriends, and that's not the intention. It's a deflection of what we really wanted, because we kept running into the people who simply wanted us to have childbearing hips. I already have childbearing hips. I'm beyond childbearing age, though. Not interested in that.
Yeah.
Interested in lifelong love and friendship and fun, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like I said, I just wanted to reiterate, learning how to walk in confidence, at whatever stage in our journey we're in, learning how to love ourselves, you know, and not shaming yourself, and then not uh, accepting, other digs or other shames that, come to from other people,
Yeah.
so that's some of the ways, or two of the ways at least, that we can, cut out some of the body shaming, learning how to embrace wholeness, strength, and confidence, one choice at a time, and because I know people, I used to do the mirror test, and I still do it if I do a workshop in a seminar or whatever. And a lot of people can't look in that mirror for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You see, 5 minutes is a long time for someone who, you know, uh, does not want to really look deep within themselves. You see, and that's what the mirror does. So, yeah. Um, so one thing I want us to remember tonight, I'm thankful for what we've shared, and I hope we have shed some light on maybe something that someone will hear when they go back and listen to this clip. Uh, but if we remember that the conversation isn't about chasing perfection, isn't that something? We're not trying to chase perfection.
Oh my God.
We're choosing progress and peace and health, you know. Uh, of course, if there's anything that we need to shift so that we can become healthier, you see, so that we can do what we need to do. I know, Eddie, I appreciate you sharing a few months back, your new health journey, you see,
Mhm.
of going to the doctor. And that's one thing we can say, a lot of men don't like to go to the doctor. I talked to numerous men who, unless they've had a hiccups, they haven't been to the doctor in 5 or 6 years, you see. And
Well,
so, yeah,
I want you to put this on Tommy and Brandon because on the radio a couple of weeks ago we had a urologist on, and he talked about prostate cancer. And
yeah,
I wasn't aware that prostate cancer was another one of them silent killers. I did
yes,
not know it was symptomless. I
yes,
had no idea. And that's why you have to have that rectal exam. But
yes,
in lieu of the rectal exam, you can get a blood test called a PSA, a prostate specific antigen test that is a blood. If for any man that's afraid of that rectum exam, then you can get a PSA. I just got mine on Monday because I
amen,
asked my doctor, and they don't do it unless you come with symptoms where it's like I'm not peeing properly. But he was saying get a baseline PSA. There is a range that your PSA is in that is acceptable. And the way they measure it is if it goes up a certain level every year, that is the determining factor,
Yeah.
not what the number is, but what it is relative to last year. So Brandon and Tommy, when they go to their doctor, need to ask for a PSA so that they can get a baseline of what that number is now, and they need to continue to get that as they continue to go to their doctors. And every man that's listening or hear this, or the men in y'all's lives, they need to the young men, 40-year-olds in y'all lives, they need to go do that.
and that's what I was getting ready to say. So they recommend that at 40 and above, right? Starting at
Mm-hmm.
40 and above. And that's it, because that's the time you need to, start checking, on that. And yeah, it's just so much. I mean, you still got a lot of women who haven't gone to have a mammogram yet. You see what I'm saying? And things like that as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, we talking about the body shaming and the augmentations and, all of those things tonight. But the main caption overall is becoming healthy and becoming whole, regardless of what that, looks like for you. Um, do what you need to do, or do what you desire to do. If you want to have some procedures done or whatever, by all means, the internal things, you see, needs to be checked on and worked as well. I just want to say, if you're beyond your childbearing years and don't plan on having any more children, you still need to have your
Yeah.
checkups, you
Absolutely.
see, annually and things of that nature. And some people will just stop and not go, So thank you for sharing that, Eddie, about the men. And I really pray that, men are listening. And if not, your girlfriend, your wife, or your mother will share this with you all, and that you will become more proactive about your health. You see, and not be embarrassed. I hear men who are embarrassed to tell their doctors things. I'm like, really? You
Yeah.
see, get the help that we need, because now they're, through technology, and I'm going to say through faith and through our creator enhancing things. Now there's so much that people can do that they couldn't do even 10, 15 years ago, not thinking about 40 years ago, because me and someone were talking the other day, and they like, man, when we grew up back then, we never heard our mothers talking about going to the doctor. You see what I'm saying? Unless she was pregnant, right? We never heard our dads talking about going,
Yeah.
the man in our life, to the doctor. So when did they go to the doctor? But what I said to her, I said, look at all the additives, all the preservatives in
Yeah.
the food.
Everything.
Now, most of the time we were growing our garden, or we were getting them from Mr. Johnson, you see, or somebody in the community that we knew, or the man that came by in the vegetable truck,
Truck. Yep.
right? And you were killing the hogs, and someone was selling you a half a cow, you see. So you didn't have all these preservatives and all these things, on top of the medication that's affecting stuff, and I know I'm ranting and changing the subject,
And you
but
true.
overall I'm really hoping that this topic tonight will also encourage some people who haven't been to the doctor to have a checkup. Okay. And I'm so glad we talked about dental hygiene as well, because a lot of people don't realize how bad dental hygiene create other health problems.
Yes.
They really don't.
Mhm.
You see, and I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna get into the personal stuff, but a lot of people are doing a whole lot of different things now with all kind of body parts. You see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure your dental hygiene is together, and your everything. You want to make sure everything is on point. So yeah. Listen, I know our time is far spent. I thank you all so much, but this body shaming and
Yeah.
all these kind of things. I'm glad we had this topic tonight. We might need to do a little. I need to do a little bit more research and come back with a part two. And I want to bring somebody on who has had some body shaming, to talk about how it affected them, or how they overcame that, and even perhaps uh, a man or woman or both who've had some body augmentations and some things done. And if they don't mind being transparent, help us understand uh, not only the healing process, but are there some things that you have to do the next year, or the next 2, or the next 5 years. I think this is knowledge that we need to put out there, and information that people need to know. Every time you go to the doctor, they have a checklist on here about things that are hereditary, right? Especially the first time if you change doctors. And so if we don't have those conversations, or haven't had those conversations, how many of you, Eddie or Apostle Lynn, knew all the answers to all those questions about your mom and about your dad on that questionnaire?
Mm-mm.
If they've ever had this, if they've ever had that. Do you have a history of that in your family? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are conversations that we need to have, you see. So yeah, I'm just ranting now, but I'm gonna turn it over to you two to have your closing remarks about this topic tonight. And again, thank you all for coming, and hopefully we can come back, like I said, and do a part two, and bring some people on that can uh, shed some realistic information, because they've had the experiences.
Well, I think just beginning a journey of self acceptance. A lot of that is going to therapy and figuring out like what has been extracted from you, and what is keeping you from being able to see yourself in a positive light. Sometimes it's not about adding things, it's just about cleaning the pathway up of the things that you've experienced and been through.
No.
so that you don't have any debris and anything that you stepping over in order to actually get to that image of yourself that you should have been able to have access for a long time. I mean, when we talking about sexual abuse, we talking about domestic violence, we talking about chronic bullying, we talking about abusive parents that they say it was just discipline, but it was actually harming you. A lot of these things go into how you begin to be able to view and perceive yourself. So I would just say start that journey if you can. It's important.
Thank
I'm
you.
totally gonna agree. I believe that if you are being body shamed by someone, remove yourself. Remove yourself if that is possible. Get the help that you need. Speak to somebody. Definitely therapy. Make sure that because it is not natural. It is not just something that we just have to endure because it's just how it is. That there has this is even before you find a way to help heal your life. Get out of it. It is not acceptable, and this is really a matter of self-love. When you love yourself enough, you certainly cannot allow somebody to shame you to where you don't love yourself. So I thank you. And Dr. Watson, maybe we'll have some conversations about some body augmentations.
Yes, we, we will. Listen, I'm just going to say this in talking to some people through a therapeutic process sometimes, how, and I'm going to say a man was wanting his wife that after had the baby or whatever, to get back to how she was after and everything. Sometimes I find out that's really not the real issue. I'm just going to say that sometimes that's not the real issue, because I've known people who someone said listen, if you lose 40 pounds, that's it. Well, she lost 40 pounds and it still wasn't it. Am I making sense? So
Mhm.
sometimes there's other elephants in the room. And sometimes I'm not so sure that the person who has those, I'm going to say, unrealistic expectations know why they have them. It's something else within that person, but to be willing to shift and change and do whatever another person is expecting you to do every time they throw that expectation out there, I'm going to say it's unrealistic. You see, because we'll never be able to please a person once you do this one thing, I can promise you it's going to be something else.
Yeah,
It's now I don't know if you two agree with that
totally
or
agree.
not, but it's going to be something else.
Yeah.
You see,
Mhm.
and so at the end of the day, like you said, learning how to love yourself, have self confidence, at any phase and every phase on this journey. By all means, but by all means, make sure you have a primary care physician. Go get your checkups. Go get your mammograms. Go
Yeah.
get your prostate checked. You see, and one thing I love that you said, Eddie, is therapy. You see, our community is still slacking in that therapy department, and
Mhm.
and then talk and have more conversations, communicate, communicate with your loved ones. I know husbands and wives who don't really talk about their health. The husband will be experiencing something and he don't share it with his wife, you see, and she don't know, and vice versa. So I mean, I don't understand that part. I mean, you partners, but you're not even sharing, your health with each other, and so they don't know. So
Mhm.
yeah, we can go on, but again, thank you all so much. Thank you, Facebook. You were quiet tonight. I hope we've said something that caused you to think about body shaming and even looking more at your health, and building your own self confidence when it pertains to yourself. So, again, thank you all so much. I know it's late out there where you are, Apostle Lynn. Eddie and I are kind of in the same southern region, so we're on the same time frame. But listen, I thoroughly appreciate you two taking your time out of your busy schedule to come on tonight. And it's always a joy because you both are just a wealth of knowledge, and I just, yeah, I just love having you on. So, hey, just know that you grandfathered in anytime, any Thursday night. Just come on, jump on, and just, yeah, let's talk about whatever we're talking about. I appreciate you all so much.
All right. Thank you.
All
Always a
right.
pleasure. Until
Thanks. Y'all
next
have a good night now.
time. You too.
All right, you too.
All right.